What is up, everybody? My name is Justin French, covering music for those who care, and right now I'm taking a look at the 5th studio album from Daughtry. This one is entitled Cage to Rattle. So, Daughtry's still a thing in 2018. Interesting. But anyways, for those of you who didn't know who Daughtry is the band of American Idol contestant Chris Daughtry, and even though I haven't really followed them very much in the past few years, I will say that I still do listen to some of their songs for nostalgic reasons. Songs from their first couple of albums like It's Not Over, Home, Over It, Life After You, September, No Surprise, What I Want, are tracks that I really do come back to for nostalgic reasons. And even though I didn't enjoy Break the Spell as a whole, there were some songs I still did enjoy. The first three, which were Renegade, which has a pretty great hard rock tinge to it, Crawling Back to You I thought was a pretty good ballad, and the hard rock groove of Out of My Head was pretty infectious, but other than that, it wasn't an album I really did enjoy. And then we got Baptized in 2013, and that just completely made me scratch my head, because this is a guy who came from a hard rock post-grunge background pretty much. This is a guy who was offered a role to become Fuel's lead singer. And in the years following turning that down, what do we get? An electro-pop album. Definitely something I was really wanting to see, so I really had low expectations going into this record. And I thought Backbone, which was one of the songs that was released before the album, it wasn't a single though, I thought it wasn't too bad. So, what do I think of Cage to Rattle as a whole? Fuck me. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that not annoying enough for you? Well, you try listening to this record as a whole and you tell me. Now look, I get it. Bands change over time. But this is a band that, even though I did have low expectations for this record, I thought they could have at least done something to improve from that last album that they had done. I thought Backbone wasn't the greatest thing that they had done, but it was a return to that kind of pop rock style of albums like Break the Spell and Leave This Town, so I thought it wasn't terrible. But then we listened to the rest of the record, and it's pretty much the same mistake that we had gotten here from the last record. Chris, you were saying there were going to be guitars here on this record. I barely really heard any here. Now, even though I don't like the baptized vibes of the lead single that we get here from this record, Deep End, I still think that this is probably the most listenable track that you're going to find here on this record. I still do enjoy Chris Daughtry's vocals, of course, and the pianos are pretty nice, but other than that, that's about as listenable, at least in my opinion, as it gets. White Flag, which is one of the promotional singles, the longest track on this record, clocking in at almost 5 minutes, and also the last track here on this record, is probably one of the worst songs I've heard this year alone. I really think that the lyrics here are very cringeworthy, and also the music here just feels like this really anthemic Imagine Dragons ripoff. I know these guys are alternative rock in a way, but it's 2018, and Daughtry should not be making alternative music. And I'm not saying rock, because that doesn't count as alternative rock. As You Were features a co-write from Chris Daughtry's wife, Deanna Daughtry. And honestly, I don't think lyrically it's a bad song, pretty much because Deanna Daughtry had written a poem that Chris had read, and he actually liked it, so he worked on some of the lyrics here for this song along with that poetry, and put it into this song. And lyrically, I don't think it's bad. But if the music didn't sound really boring and dull, I think that this song could have been better. Back in Time features some really weird and off-key guitar lines in the verses, which really kind of turned me off from that song. Just Found Heaven and Death of Me feel like baptized recycled outtakes, and honestly, I'm not a big fan of the writing for both of those two songs and the feeling. And Stuff of Legends, which has the most cringiest song title out of all of these tracks on this album, just feels like a very terrible dance rock tune. Yeah, it's dancey. I'll have to give credit where credit is due. I do think that Chris Daughtry still has some really great vocal chops, especially here on this record. And that's pretty much about it. From what I'd read, I didn't even know this up until the point I was doing this review. Baptized was pretty much done with just Chris Daughtry, not even his band. So he brought his band back for this album, but if I can be honest here, I don't really see very much of a difference. This album pretty much kind of copycats almost the same exact album as he did last time, just with a band this time. So overall, I'm sure y'all already know what my opinion here is on this record. I am not a fan of the new Daughtry album, Cage to Rattle. I really think that this band tried to go for an anthemic, almost alternative feel on this record, not alternative rock. But man, does it ever so fall flat on its face. There might only be like 1 or 2 tracks I may or may not even contemplate on coming back to here from this record. So anyways, my rating here on this record is going to be a low 3 out of 10. But anyways, y'all, these are my thoughts on Daughtry's Cage to Rattle. What did you think of the album? Definitely comment in the comment section down below. But anyways, y'all, thank you so much for watching. And remember, any band that tries to rip off Imagine Dragons will eventually fade into obscurity. Until next time.